Hey again everyone, and welcome back to the channel for yet another installment in our new figure showcase series. This is the retrospective edition where I'm basically unboxing a figure that I've owned for a long time. I've just never unboxed, which, word to you collectors, don't do that. Don't do what I've done. Unbox your figure, make sure nothing is broken. I've been lucky right now that a lot of the figures I've opened recently have not had any issues, but in retrospect, don't do that, right? Now I'm opening everything, but had these in storage, and as I've been populating my displays, right, if you've seen my shorts, you know that I'm starting to really put them together. I'm trying to pull all these open and finally give them the rightful place in display. So today we're going to be focusing on Thanos from Avengers Endgame, the Battle Damaged version. I have two other versions of the character. I have the original that came out from Guardians of the Galaxy, which from a size perspective completely underscaled, right? They decided to do something different, but he's got that floating throne, so that's very cool. And then I have the one from Infinity War with the gauntlet. That's a much simpler look. From Endgame, we got the Battle Damage version, which is what you're seeing here, and then they had also done a clean version. I originally ordered the clean version, and I remember I actually canceled it when the Battle Damage went up for pre-order, because in my mind, yeah, I'm a little crazy. As you've seen, I pick up a ton of different versions of the same character. But the Battle Damage versus the clean version of this Thanos, to me, they were just too similar. And I just, from a space perspective, at that point even, I was thinking, there's just no need to have both of those. If space were no issue, I probably would have gotten both. But picking one, I decided to cancel, go with the Battle Damage, and I'm happy I did. This is an impressive looking figure overall, in case you hadn't noticed, right? From the sheer scale, which is what you'd expect from Thanos, to the accessories, which pretty bare again, right? You do get that outcropping of rock that creates a display base, which at first I was kind of like, not the greatest, but once I had the figure displayed up, it is a highlight. And I think for me, that big sword, double sword that he has, especially with the broken edge, that's also what sets from an accessory perspective, it sets the Battle Damage apart. So really happy to have that. So jumping into the accessories, let's start with the hands. Again, we've seen this before, right? They're well done. Hatus has done Thanos hands before. I like that these are the armored versions of them. Again, not having that clean version, I'm assuming these are pretty much the same. I don't think there's really any damage on the top armor elements, maybe some scratches, maybe the paint applications are slightly different, but they work, right? And they do what they're supposed to do, to hold the accessories and create kind of that emotion and dynamic presence. And then you do get the gauntlet, right? This is kind of the MacGuffin at the end of the movie that everybody's trying to get to stop Thanos from doing what he wants to do, right? Eliminate half the population of the universe. So you're seeing two different versions, one which has all of the Infinity Stones in it, and then the other which is actually doing the snap motion, but has lost all the stones, as Tony, right, has already absorbed them into his own nano armor. So cool to have those two options as well. And then, like I mentioned, the blade, right, the big double-edged sword. This isn't clean, right? It looks grungy. It looks like it's dirty from battle. The paint app is interesting, right? Because the cut has a nice little red hue on it. Not sure if it was meant to be kind of like showing that it's a little hot to the touch and almost like burn. But again, nice detailing work on the blade itself. Feels heavy, feels intimidating. And then there's a nice little paint application on the top of the surface of the blade that makes it look like tempered steel. Then you do get his helmet, which you'll see on the figure itself. Battle damage, heavily battle damage from scratches, and even the pieces at the bottom by his chin, some of them are bent outwards. So I love the detail work and the paint applications here to create that image of damage, right? And then here is the base that we were talking about. It's an outcropping of rock. It's interesting to me. I would have expected almost the rocks to be up high on the back, but basically the figure stands in that crevice, and I think you're supposed to pose him with like a leg up on one of these stones. It works great. That's how I kind of ended up. But you know, at first a little jarring, but the more I played with the figure and posed him up, the more it looked like something that I wanted to use. But very simple, very bare bones. And again, if you are looking for space savings, this is probably what you're gonna stop yourself from using. Now, jumping into the figure, sculpt wise, amazing, right? This looks like Thanos. This sad face looks like him from the end of the movie. And again, if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, but at this point, I'm pretty sure everybody's watched it, right? This looks like when he has the realization that he's lost, and he's looking out at his troops, disappearing. Tony's won, the Avengers have won. It's a great rendition of that face with the battle damaged elements and all the cuts. And then you get this aggressive look again, cuts, all battered. I love the paint applications where it's a little grimy, and I like that aggressive look, clenched teeth. Hot Toys does a great job on these teeth, these exposed sculpts. And it's something that I think some of these other companies, especially third party, are trying to emulate, but they haven't done so successfully right now. But Hot Toys, I think every figure that I've gotten like this recently, the Morbius, this one, phenomenal work on the detailing on the teeth, right? And it really shows that emotion. Now, like I said, figure overall, super heavy, super hefty. The armor is stunning, and the fact that this is all battle damage is even better, right? From the helmet down to the shoulder armor that has all these nicks and cuts and grooves on it, right? The back, it just, he's been through war, which we saw in the movie, right? So it's great to get a version of him recreated with this, with the battle damaged exposed arms with cuts and bruises throughout, right? And the paint applications continue on the forearm gauntlets, right? You've got that look of bleeding throughout, all the way down to cuts and grooves, all the way on the leg armor. So really, when it comes to battle damage figures, there's just something very impressive about them. And while I like the clean version of figures, even having the Iron Man from the end scene, there was the clean version, which I also didn't get, but I opted to go with the battle damage just because I think it has a little bit more presence to it. Look, it's Thanos. If you are a Marvel fan, I think you love the character of Thanos, right? He's one of the most popular villains. If you're an MCU fan, I think they did him justice in the movies, right? Especially his first appearance. Even in Guardians, right, where he shows up as just this floating presence. It's interesting. But then he took over that movie in Infinity War. And seeing him again show up in full costume, in full regalia for that final battle with our big three at the end of Avengers Endgame, it's a character you want in the collection. And I think Hot Toys did a great job here. Battle damaged again, looks fantastic, right? The sword, the helmet, even that rock outcropping, right, makes it feel like you're in that final battle in the Avengers. So kudos to Hot Toys for recreating this. Figure's actually really poseable. I'm glad they gave him the stand because I think Hot Toys sacrificed maybe some stiffness on the joints to give you that posability. So while I was able to manage to get him to stand by himself, I was a little cautious because I didn't want him falling, especially because he is a heavier figure around others. But again, great job, even from the gauntlet, right? For me, recreating that scene where he snaps his fingers and realizes that nothing happened. It's great that Hot Toys gave us that pre-posed snapping finger and that you can see on the outside that there are no Infinity Stones there. So for me, I ultimately ended up, I know it's not the way he looks in the movie, but I wanted to use the helmet, I wanted to use that battle damaged sword, and I wanted to have that snapping gauntlet, right? A lot of the figures from Avengers Endgame have a gauntlet with the Infinity Stones on it, so to have one that doesn't have it also makes it a little bit different. And I think it's just overall shelf presence, right? That's the name of this figure. It is huge, it is massive. The amount of detail work from the sculpt to the entirely battle damaged armor, right? Even that stone outcropping. Look, I didn't think I was going to use it, but it ended up definitely making the figure feel a little bit more intense. So love the release. If you get a chance to pick this one up, I would say this is a great solid version of Thanos to own. I'm glad that I managed to get him, and I'm glad that I got this over the clean cut version. So let me know your thoughts, and as always, we'll touch base on the next one.